thank you right now for all those details. We're getting in live visuals from the Ambala Air Base, viewers, where President Droupadi Murmu is going to be taking that sortie on the Rafale jet. Extremely historic in very many ways. She becomes the first female Indian president to have that, Rafale sortie. She is, remember, the Supreme Commander of the Indian Armed Forces and therefore leads the nation in using this Rafale jet. But as far as Rafales are concerned, remember, this is something that was used, extremely important part of Operation Sindoor against Pakistan's terror bases. And the air base as well holds a lot of significance. The Ambala Air Base is a crucial operational air base of the Indian Air Force. It has carried out many operations from here and continues to do so. Of course, those historic visuals that are coming in from the Ambala Air Base at the moment with President Droupadi Murmu inside the Rafale jet. My colleague Rishabh is getting us more on this. Rishabh, what an absolutely fantastic visual that is coming out of the Ambala Air Base. President Droupadi Murmu becoming the first female Indian president to take that sortie on Rafale. Get us all that has been happening there.
Well, definitely. See, what we are seeing right now, the visuals that are coming in from the Ambala Air Base, the Rafale, which has on board the first citizen of the country. President Droupadi Murmu is all set to take off, and you can see right now in the visuals that we are seeing that the groundsmen have removed the stoppers as well. And in overall, this is what we call the dangri that the pilots wear. The overall President of India is on board this Rafale jet. This is a trainer Rafale jet, which is a twin setter, is used for training purposes as well for the new pilots, and also for the young pilots who are shifting from other aircrafts to Rafale. President Droupadi Murmu would be taking a sortie in this Rafale from Ambala Air Base. This is about to begin, is what we are given to understand. Apart from that, if we talk about Droupadi Murmu, this is not the first time, as we have been talking, that she has donned the overall, and she has done this in 2023 as well, where she flew Sukhoi 30 MKI, a warhorse that India has been depending on for decades. And now this aircraft, which is the Rafale, which got inducted in Indian Air Force just a few years ago in 2022, it came to India in 2020 for that matter, it came to India, and since then there have been two squadrons, one in Ambala, which is called the 14th Arrow. This aircraft will be taking precedent to the skies. Remember, this is the latest induction in the when it comes to the fighter aircrafts of Indian Air Force.
All right, Rishabh, I'm going to come back to you. Let me quickly go across to RSN Singh. He's joining us on the phone line. He's an author. RSN Singh, how do you see this? This is in very many ways historic that President Droupadi Murmu is taking this sortie. How do you see this?
No, I said earlier that it's a red letter day, a lady president taking on to the skies, in a Indian Air Force aircraft. Had it been some other aircraft also, so even Tejas, the significance would have been the same. So I would not emphasize much on the Rafale part, but yes, to the extent that too much of propaganda by Pakistan, about their some successes. So that bluff has been called off in many ways, and of course, I see it in entire overall perspective, of exercise Trishul, and also what our Prime Minister announced from the ramparts of the Red Fort about, Sudarshan Chakra.
Yeah.
So you combine all together, it's a strong message as far as the security of the country is concerned, and our resolve, our resolve and our message to the world, especially to the subcontinent.
Absolutely, RSN Singh. Thank you very much for joining us and sharing your perspective. Let me also go across to Srinjoy Chaudhary, my colleague. He's joining us on the broadcast. Srinjoy, we have been talking about how this is a spectacle that will go down in history books. The first female Indian president, President Droupadi Murmu, taking this Rafale sortie. And the fact that Ambala Air Base also has the fourth generation and the most advanced Rafale jets that were inducted into the Indian Air Force. So extremely crucial as far as using these jets are concerned in operations and, of course, sending out the message.
Droupadi Murmu, the President of India, is the first Indian president on a Rafale. Yes, absolutely correct. But it must be mentioned that it's a big thing even for the Air Force to have the President of India flying a plane and or being part of a sortie. She's going to be the co-pilot.
I'm going to come back to you. We're getting in visuals right now. Look at that, viewers. President Droupadi Murmu waving, of course. That is the sortie that she has undertaken on the Rafale jet, and now this aircraft has started moving. In a short while from now, of course, it's going to take off, and we will get those visuals of the first sortie being taken by President Droupadi Murmu. Extremely significant, extremely important. And as I have been saying, and this goes without saying, that this is in very many ways historic. The fact that we have the Indian Air Force using these Rafale jets, fourth generation, most advanced Rafale jets at the Ambala Air Base, those that we used in Operation Sindoor. The fact that President Droupadi Murmu is becoming the first female Indian president to be on that Rafale jet and undertaking this sortie. And of course, the kind of messaging that India wants to put across, not just to Pakistan, but the entire world. Srinjoy, you were telling us about how this is crucial in very many ways. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, even the President, she's a senior citizen, and she would have had to go through medical tests. They would have given her some training on what to do when you're co-pilot. So a little bit of all that has already happened. Then, of course, she gets on the plane, and speaking for myself, it's a huge experience, very exhilarating, and you feel literally and metaphorically on top of the world. But for all of us, citizens of India, it's an important moment, and for the Air Force and the Armed Forces, it's an equally important moment. There are really two or three things here. After Operation Sindoor, this is a message to the Air Force, it's a message to the Armed Forces, saying, yes, you have done a good job, and we are proud of you. That's the first message that goes through, because the President of India is also supreme commander of the Indian Armed Forces. Now that has to be remembered. That's the first thing. Secondly, it's a message to people all over the world, saying that, look here, we have a woman president flying the Rafale, a fighter aircraft. And this is a way of saying that, well, India is a force to be reckoned with in the region, and India wants to be a force to be reckoned with. Yes, there have been terror attacks on our territory, and yes, we have dealt with them. That is the underlying message. That is the message that is between the lines.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. Also, it's a vote of confidence in the armed forces, saying you've done a good job.
That's right, Srinjoy. Crucial messaging that India wants to put across there. But you mentioned how one feels at the top of the world, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're one of those people who have experienced how the Rafale jets feel. Help our viewers understand the kind of preparation that goes into it. You know, you've got Indian Air Force pilots who use these, who are trained for these, but for civilians, what is the experience like?
It's, as I said, an absolutely exhilarating experience to fly in a fighter jet. I have done that a couple of times, and these were 45-minute sorties or so. And they were in fighter planes, very famous fighter planes. And what happens is, first you go through a medical test, you go through a long medical test, and after which you get trained. You're told to do this and not to that, to do that, and all kinds of things. So the medical test takes a while. Then training is for a day, roughly a day, and they tell you, they put you in front of equipment, and they teach you what to do and not to do. And you are co-pilot, but even when you're co-pilot, they tell you that you have to do these things. So, well and good. Then, of course, the day dawns, and early in the morning, your breakfast has to be light, and then you are kitted out. You have to wear those boots, you have to wear those weighted overalls, and then this business of putting on the helmet, and the oxygen is fitted in. There is that 1 second between, or 2 seconds, till the oxygen starts flowing. And very briefly, there is that sense of panic, because you're not breathing anything. Then, of course, the oxygen comes in, and it's all very reassuring. Then the plane takes off. Now, depending on what kind of acrobatics the pilot wants to do, my suspicion is that in the case of the president, perhaps those acrobatics will not happen so much. But then there are those acrobatics. Also, before they fly, you fly, they will kindly give you a puke bag that you put into your overalls. And if it's necessary, it's a fairly useful thing to have. Okay. The flying is exhilarating. And then halfway through the flight, the pilot tells you, do you want to take over? And let's not forget that you've been trained. So what you do is take over, and you fly yourself for 5-6 minutes. And that's the great moment, when you're flying a fighter plane. Then on both occasions...
Sinjoy, I'm going to come back to you. You've explained to our viewers very well, and you know how this entire experience would be for President Droupadi Murmu. Let me also take this across to Wing Commander S. Sudhakaran, who's joining us on the broadcast on the phone line. Wing Commander, good morning, namaskar. Can I understand from you how you see this? This is, historic, extremely crucial. The fact that the Supreme Commander of the Indian Armed Forces is right now undertaking a Rafale sortie.
While it is a very important step, what this kind of measures what it does is it sends a signal to the entire armed forces. It boosts their morale to tell that the commanders are confident with what is happening, and that is already being proved through Operation Sindoor. And these kinds of lot of people have in the past also taken these sorties. But then these sorties go and send a message domestically as well as to the international audience, what India is about, how resolved our leadership is about. It also brings to forelight the armed forces, their importance, and then their capability. It is kind of a capability demonstration as to what kind of assets are there in the fold. Otherwise, people tend to forget. They only tend to remember it in times of conflict. But it is very important that we remember these aspects continuously, even during peacetime. And that is when what needs to be done to keep it at the state that it is required to be, that will be done. Otherwise, one fine day, if we wake up and we think that everything will be in place, it will not be. Yeah. So these are small measures which puts things in its place, which makes people continuously aware of what is happening, what is available, what needs to be done, keeps the state in an absolute state of preparedness. Even the president firsthand today, having visited Ambala, would have seen, she would have apprised of shortcomings, if any, would communicate the same to the government. And then, it is part of a process. And that's why symbolically these are very, very important steps.
All right, Wing Commander, thank you very much for joining us and helping us understand what this entire sortie means for the armed forces. Remember, viewers, what we are showing you are historic visuals coming out of the Ambala Air Base, where President Droupadi Murmu is now undertaking a sortie on the Rafale fighter jet, the fourth generation Rafale fighter jet that has been built by Dassault Aviation of France. And remember, this is a hugely significant sortie, not just because as the president, she's become the first Indian president, the first female Indian president at that, to undertake this sortie. Apart from this, the kind of messaging that India wants to send out, not just to Pakistan, but the entire world, that this is a force to reckon with, that we are ready, we're always prepared for any kind of challenge that is thrown at us. So, Enjoy, you know, we've been talking about how this is crucial in very many ways, and you explained to us how it feels. It's really an exhilarating experience, and I can only imagine how you must have felt and how Droupadi Murmu, the President of India, must be feeling while undertaking this sortie. But of course, challenges also come in as far as, you know, as you were talking about the oxygen and the weather conditions and all of that taken into consideration. It becomes all the more important then for the President to be taken on this Rafale jet and for India to be sending out the kind of messaging that, look, there are challenges, but we will overcome them and we are prepared for any kind of challenge that is thrown at us.
First of all, credit must be given to the President herself. She's a senior citizen. She's not trained to fly in a fighter aircraft, but she has agreed to do it. Let's not forget that she has agreed to do it. That's the most important thing. And then she realizes when the President of India, when the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces flies in a fighter plane from Ambala, it's a message not just to the Air Force, a vote of confidence not just to the armed forces, it's a message to the people of India, it's the message to our adversaries, it's a way of saying that India can stand on its feet, India can fight back. That's the message, and that's a very important message just these few months after Operation Sindoor. That's the most important thing. Besides, as has been said before, that this is a vote of confidence in the Indian Air Force. You did well during Operation Sindoor. Your BrahMos missiles were so successful, and your fighter planes did a good job. Well, thank you very much. And this is an honor to fly in the Rafale, is the message that is going out from the President of India on behalf of the people of India to the armed forces.
That's right, so Enjoy, and a lot of confidence is instilled within the troops as well, you know. Those who are seeing the Commander-in-Chief of the Indian Armed Forces undertake this sortie gives out a message to the troops as well, to the personnel of the Indian Air Force as far as the preparedness is concerned, as far as confidence of the country is concerned.
See what happens. This is something that will be seen by everybody. Our television channel, Times Now, will go to every soldier on the front, and that will be looked at, and people will feel happy. That Jawan on the line of control, the Jawan on the line of actual control will feel so happy that our president, the President of India, is flying an Air Force plane. That will make that Jawan feel so happy. That is what you call confidence. That is what you call good morale. And that will make the armed forces a stronger fighting force. That's the important thing. The most important cog in that wheel is that Jawan on the line of control and the line of actual control and the IB. And these are the men who actually do the fighting. The young officer, the Jawan on the ground, who can see the enemy on the other side, these are the guys who will be asked to do the job. So these are the people who will feel happy when they watch the President on television. And that President of India is flying an Air Force plane. That's the positive gain that comes from this. As for the President herself, let's not forget that she's agreed to do this. She's agreed to go through this. The medical test, the little bit of training, then of course getting onto the aircraft. It's a great feeling, but you still have to do it. So a very big thank you to her for actually agreeing to fly the Rafale. And it's a big message. She knew that when she flew in the Rafale, this would be a huge message to not just all her countrymen. She is the leader of the country, but also to all adversaries and people all over the world.
That's right. Srinjoy, you know, what can we expect as far as the duration is concerned? Around 4 to 5 minutes or longer than that?
It depends. It takes a while to take off, and then landing is also longer. So I would imagine a flight of about half an hour. It could stretch maybe to 40 minutes, but definitely not more than that, because taking off itself takes a while. Then landing, from getting onto the airplane and getting off the airplane should take about 40 minutes, is how I imagine it. At least that's what happened with me. Maybe it will be a little shorter. Maybe it will be 30 minutes. But that's still a great experience, to be in a fighter plane, to be able to look down, and especially if there is another, in this case there may not be, another fighter plane right next to you, and you see it's a very, very unique experience. It's not something that happens to everybody. It's not, it's actually a bonus in some ways to fly in a fighter plane, because you also realize how much effort has gone into putting you onto that fighter plane. But that's for people like us. For the President of India, it's a big thing, a big moment, and a big message to 1.4 billion people in India and many, many people all over the world. It's a joyous moment, actually, and a great vote of confidence in the armed forces and in the people of India.
Yes. Srinjoy, I want you to stay with us. Wing Commander Praful Bakshi is also joining us on this broadcast as we get you the live pictures from the Ambala Air Force Base, where the President has now taken that historic sortie, a huge message being sent to the Indian Armed Forces, to the Air Force, and also to the people of India. Wing Commander Bakshi, as you take a look at these pictures, what goes on in your mind? Because this is coming in the back of Operation Sindoor, where the Rafales played a very decisive and a lethal role.
To tell you the truth, what was coming in my mind was that I was feeling very proud that the President of India is witnessing for herself the performance of the same machine which created history. Actually, you can say that, but it is part of the history making. So, from that point of view, I was very confident, and I was very confident that the sortie of the President will be very, very, enjoyable for her and very revealing for her, because she has a very inquisitive mind, inquisitive in the very positive sense. She wants to know exactly what is the performance of the aircraft, how does it perform, weapon systems. She asked a number of questions, and of course, she is very well aware that women of India will also be flying in this aircraft, and that myth has already been broken, that combat machines are not fit for, are not meant for ladies or women, and that myth has been shattered. So there is no doubt about it that President of India is fully aware of what the machines are. But more than that, President of India would like to know exactly what type of machines are there, what is the what effect it has, its performance, and President will, future decision making, it will make a lot of difference what the opinion of President of India is.
Yes.
So I personally feel the indigenization program, etc., which I'm going to follow up with Rafale, though maybe a little more time has taken, but nevertheless, this aspect is absolutely clear that Rafale is now come to stay, and create a very positive image around the world, especially France. And France will also now realize that their weapon system is in good hands, and the weapon system must be now, further improved. R&D, etc., engine of the aircraft, everything will get accelerated out of this one-day event.
Yes. Wing Commander Bakshi, before I let you go, and as we keep these pictures live on our screens, what do you think, what kind of a message goes out to doubters who, said a lot of things about the Rafales, who raised questions even after India successfully sent a message to Pakistan after Pahalgam in the form of Operation Sindoor?
You see, let me tell you, those sort of people will remain there in a democracy, because democracy is a very fine machine which filters out, these sort of elements which are there in the society. Otherwise, you never come to know, because everybody is yes man. But here, you have suddenly come to know what the reality is. What do people think? Some people think anti-national elements, elements which are against the progress of the nation, are absolutely revealed. They are open. So it now depends upon India how to deal with them. But doubters will always be there, because they have to also earn their bread. But this is a very, very big business. By putting impediments into the progress of the government, it's a big business. If you can understand, it actually costs money, because those people earn out of it. So they will do it because they're political gains.
Thank you, Wing Commander Bakshi, for joining us on this broadcast. Air Marshal Dibendu Chaudhary is also with us. Air Marshal, I want to get your perspective. When you look at these pictures of the President, the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, taking a sortie, a historic flight on the Rafale, just days after Operation Sindoor, what is the message that goes out to the adversary? What is the message that goes out to doubters?
Thank you for having me over. First of all, I don't think it's, really historic from that point of view, because our President has already flown in the Sukhoi earlier. So, and we have a long tradition of our presidents who are the supreme commanders of taking, flying in cutting-edge aircraft, in sailing in ships, or with the army as well. So it is from a larger perspective that it's an immense signal to the dedication and of the people of the armed forces. It is a huge morale booster for them to have the Supreme Commander coming and personally flying with them, spending some time with them. So that is huge. And it makes an immense difference to the morale of the people. It's sort of, and in this case, it is also almost like a good show kind of gesture from the part of the President of coming and flying with the Rafale squadron, especially after its role in the recent role in Operation Sindoor. So it's like a good show to the Air Force for the role it has played, for all the people who took part in it. And it also, when a President flies, the Supreme Commander flies in a cutting edge, the leading platform or fighter aircraft of any nation, it's a huge signal to its adversaries and to the nations, to the neighborhood. In a situation like this, where it's a clear message that, look, we are not a nation which we be messed about with. And from another aspect, it's a huge signal and a message, I would say, to the youth of the nation to join the armed forces, to see the President flying it's a huge motivational factor for the younger generations, and especially for women. Do understand that Indian Air Force has had fighter pilots for the longest time, and fighter pilots also for a long time now. And it's an immense sort of morale and a boost of signal which sort of, motivates the younger generation to join the services.
Yes. Marshal Chaudhary, one more question. Just to understand the process, when the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces takes a high-power sortie like this, what is the process that is in place? What happens moments before, the sortie? What are the kind of preparations that the Air Force undertakes, and also what are the preparations in place for the President herself?
Okay, I'm glad you brought out this question, because most people don't realize, that the effort it takes you can't just sort of land up and go and fly a fighter sortie. So when the president would have indicated her willingness to come and fly this mission, that sort of an appointment would have been taken long back. The dates would have been fixed. The aircraft would have been prepared. It is not that there will be any extra efforts at it, but the fact of it is every aircraft that is offered flying goes through a very serious series of checks. But when you have the president of the nation flying, there will most certainly be more serious security and safety protocols. The aircraft would have been checked, double-checked. There would be an aircraft main and the standby aircraft. They would have been isolated and kept aside for the longest time. They would have been prepared cockpit-wise, for the president to fly. For flying in fighter aircraft, you need to have specialized flying clothing, not just flying overalls, but also your G-suit, your harness, your helmet. Their fitting takes a fair amount of time. So I would think that once the president has indicated her willingness,
yes,
that the station would have prepared that aircraft and kept everything ready. And then the day she arrives, after having been received formally to the station with a guard of honor, which is owed to the Supreme Commander every time he or she visits the station. And after that, she would be taken for a special briefing where she would have been put through the paces of what will exactly happen in the mission, what will be the profile flown, what is for her to expect and see, what would she like to see if there is anything specific. Then more importantly, and very importantly, in fighter aircraft, she would be put through the emergency procedures that in case should something go wrong, what are the actions to be taken, what is she needs to do. So it's a fairly long, elaborate process,
yes,
which leads up to this. And then she will, gear up for the sortie. Then she'll be briefed on the mission. Then she'll walk and be shown around, made to sit in the cockpit, feel comfortable, and then she would be taken for the sortie.
Yes.
But I would think our president is an old hand at it because she's already flown a fighter before.
Yes.
So I think she will find it very comfortable going, and I think it's an immense gesture on her part to come and fly with the Indian Air Force.
Thank you so much, Marshal Chaudhary, for joining us and explaining to us, the process and also the symbolism. Shinjoy, I want you to stay with us. We have to take a short break, but we'll be back with the